In Argentina, a leaked video reveals how the government and the channel Noticias manipulated an interview to protect the president. In Saudi Arabia, Russia and the United States reached agreements to promote and strengthen bilateral relations. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, thousands flee to Burundi as M23 rebel group takes over Bukavu, South Kivu. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Argentina, a leaked video reveals how the government and the channel Noticias manipulated an interview to protect the president. The interview, conducted by Jonathan Viale, political operator of Clarín Group, intended to clean Milei's image after the scandal caused by the scam carried out by the Libra token. However, an unedited version was leaked, where his advisor Santiago Caputo interrupts the conversation and speaks in Milei's ear, since the president was confessing that he is going to resort to the state mechanism through the Ministry of Justice to save him in a case that is spread by pro-government media as a problem between private parties. After the interruption, the interviewer accepts the correction and asks the president how to follow up.
The truth is, we have the legal issues, not only mine. It would be imprudent of me to anticipate this. And surely the one who understands it best is our Minister of Justice, Mariano Cuneo Liverona.
He will follow the entire judicial strategy.
Well, he is the Minister of Justice. He is the one who knows about this.
But it is an issue in which you participated as a citizen and as president. That's why I'm asking you.
But again, it is good that you pointed out as a citizen, because I was tweeting from my personal account.
But you already realized that no, you are the president. You told me before.
Yes, but my account is my personal account.
Okay, but you are the president.
See what my account says.
Economist. Yes, I know, but you're the president. What, with that part? Well, I don't know where I was. Well, okay. Yes, I know why. Because of the trial.
Right?
Right.
Right? Yes, obviously.
No, I understand. I realize it can create a judicial mess for you. So, where were we?
I don't know, you asked me again about Libra. I don't know.
Okay, I'll go back from there.
And the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries of Uruguay informed about presence of avian influenza in the national territory. Due to detection of an outbreak of avian influenza in the town of Tres Isletas, department of Maipú, province of Chaco, in Argentina, the Uruguayan authorities declared a state of sanitary alert throughout the national territory. The Animal Health Division of MGAP stated that it is essential to report any mortality of wild or domestic birds. Avian influenza is an infectious disease that mainly affects birds, but when it is transmitted to humans, the symptoms can range from a mild infection to severe pneumonia, even death. And in Ecuador, the Executive Secretary of the Citizens Revolution Party, Andrés Arauz, denounced irregularities in 700 electoral tallies. The acts challenged by the movement, considered fraudulent, were located in the provinces of Esmeraldas and Sucumbíos. Through his profile on the social media X, Arauz affirmed that Citizens Revolution could add 2 more seats in the National Assembly if votes are corrected, consolidating itself as the main political force in the legislative body with 69 seats out of the 67 it already holds. The National Electoral Council intends to proclaim the official results of the vote tally before March 22nd, while Luisa González and Daniel Noboa prepare for the runoff election scheduled for April 13th. And in Colombia, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees warned about the increase of a humanitarian crisis in the territory of Catatumbo. Miguel Girard, the organization's representative in Colombia, said that 84,621 people had been displaced by guerrilla violence. The official pointed out that the violence in Catatumbo has generated the largest mass displacement in recorded history, with communities and families confined, with restricted mobility and limited access to food, medical care, and humanitarian aid. Other sources reported that at least 56 people have been killed in clashes that began on January 16th in the region between the ELN and the 33rd Front of the FARC dissidents. The United Nations warned also that Haiti reached record levels of food insecurity. UN data shows that 99% of families do not eat during the day due to food shortages. They also denounced that armed criminal groups continue to disrupt food supply by closing roads and demanding bribes from truck drivers, which increases prices and leaves families unable to buy basic products. On the other hand, the United Nations warns that because of the U.S. funding freeze, the situation will worsen in the country. Parliament authorities of Venezuela and Cuba signed a memorandum to strengthen fraternal relations between the two countries. The President of the National Assembly of Cuba, Esteban Lasso, received his Venezuelan counterpart, Jorge Rodriguez. During the encounter, the diplomats highlighted the relations between the two brotherly nations, in addition to ratifying the will to strengthen and expand interparliamentary ties. They also signed a memorandum of understanding between the two legislative bodies, which will promote cooperation and exchange of experiences. The meeting was held with the traditional military ceremony, which preceded the interpretation of both national anthems.
We can only thank the people of Cuba, their government, the President of the National Assembly for their gesture, and ratify here, in the Simon Bolivar Hall of the beautiful capital of the Republic of Cuba, ratify for the brotherly peoples of Cuba and Venezuela, the people of Fidel, the people of Hugo Chavez, that we will be united in the battle and victory. Forever, we will win.
We now have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Saudi Arabia, Russia and the United States reached agreements to promote and strengthen bilateral relations. The Russian presidential advisor Yuri Ushakov said that both delegations discussed a number of issues, including strengthening bilateral relations, as both sides are interested in this. The Russian spokesman indicated that Moscow and Washington agreed to take into account the interests of the other party in order to normalize cooperation. This is the first meeting between the two powers since the beginning of the Russian special operation in Ukraine. No specific date has yet been set for Presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump to meet. In a press briefing, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that both governments agreed to send diplomatic personnel to the embassies in Moscow and Washington. The foreign minister added that both parties also agreed to form a process to settle the conflict in Ukraine. Lavrov further said that the renewed talks aim to create conditions for mutual cooperation in order to regain previous levels and further develop in different spheres.
Our deputies will meet as soon as possible and consider the need to remove these artificial barriers to the work of embassies and other Russian institutions in the United States and that of the United States in Russia. And without concentrating on any particular manifestation of these obstacles, they will try to take a systematic approach in order to put an end, once and for all, to these inconveniences, which really hamper the development of everyday, normal relations.
In statements to the press after the meeting, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Washington and Moscow showed a great interest in resuming talks on geopolitical issues, finding a solution to the conflict in Ukraine, and strengthening diplomatic relations between both countries.
который мы разделяем в том, чтобы возобновить консультации.
There was a great interest, which we share, in resuming consultations on geopolitical issues, including various conflicts in various parts of the world, where both the United States and Russia have interests. And there was a big interest in removing artificial barriers to the development of mutually beneficial economic cooperation. We have agreed that a process on the Ukrainian settlement will be formed in the near future. The American side will inform us who will represent Washington in this task. And as soon as we know the name and position of the relevant representative, we will, as President Putin told President Trump, immediately designate our participant in this process.
And the Chinese government says it hopes all parties and stakeholders can participate in peace talks over the Ukraine conflict as top U.S. and Russian diplomats met in Saudi Arabia.
On Ukraine crisis, the Chinese side has always believed that dialogue and negotiation are the only viable way to resolve the crisis. We always insist on peace and dialogue. We are happy to see all efforts towards peace, including the consensus reached by the United States and Russia on peace talks. At the same time, we hope that all parties and stakeholders can participate in the peace talks in due course.
In the United States, hundreds of people protested against President Donald Trump and his policies at rallies held on the President's Day holiday. Nearly 1,000 people marched in the snow from State Capitol in Boston to City Hall, shouting slogans like "Elon Musk must go." These protests denounced Trump and his advisor, billionaire Elon Musk, who heads the new Department of Government Efficiency, an entity outside the government aimed at cutting federal spending. The marchers followed a series of Trump's executive orders and took place just days after staff cuts were reported at several federal agencies as part of an effort to reduce the government's workforce.
I thought it was important to be here on President's Day to demonstrate for what America stands for. American values are not the values of the plutocracy or the limited few rich people. American values are about what we are as a country all together. It's about inclusion, it's about working together, it's about checks and balances, and all of that I'm afraid of being eroded with the current administration. I'm very concerned about the cuts in healthcare and healthcare research. I'm very concerned about the cuts in the federal spending because the federal government provides a lot of services and checks and balances and proper regulation to keep our country moving forward.
It felt like I could finally see how many of us there are and how many of us are unhappy with the way that this country is moving. It's disappointing, truly, and I thought we'd already been through this.
In the United States, heavy rains and hurricane-force winds caused the death of at least 13 people in the state of Kentucky as a new wave of extreme cold and snow is expected. According to the National Weather Service, some areas of Kentucky and Tennessee have experienced over 6 inches of rain. In the last few hours, heavy rainfall generated flash flooding with more than 1,000 people rescued across the state. The storm has left obstructed roads, damaged buildings, and power outages affecting hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses in Kentucky, Tennessee, and other states across the country. Strong winds are expected to continue across the Northeast through Monday night, with a new storm already underway that will bring scattered snowfall across the mountain range. We have a second short break coming up before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, thousands flee to Burundi as the M23 rebel group takes over Bukavu, South Kivu. Over 10,000 displaced people crossed the Rusizi River while another group of residents fled from the Kamanyola area, camping in northwestern Burundian province of Cibitoke. Burundi authorities briefly closed the border crossing between the two nations as a precaution to moderate the flow of refugees. The M23 took Bukavu after capturing the city of Goma in North Kivu, as well as the town of Kavumu and its airport. And the Israeli government invited tenders to build nearly 1,000 new housing units for Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank, despite massive international protests. The Israeli anti-settlement group reported that the tender is for the construction of 974 additional illegal homes in the settlement of Efrat, south of Bethlehem. They also warned that the construction of an entire neighborhood in the settlement of Efrat will expand it by 644,000 square meters, which will increase the number of settlers living there by about 40%, while residents of the occupied territories are concentrating on the release of prisoners and the end of the genocidal war. The Netanyahu government is working to destroy the possibility of peace and commitment to the settlement. And humanitarian organizations warned Tuesday about what they describe as a catastrophic situation in the Palestinian cities of Gaza and Rafah, despite the influx of aid and supplies for the population. According to the British-founded non-governmental organization Oxfam, more than 80% of water and sanitation infrastructure across the Gaza Strip has been partially or entirely destroyed after 15 months of Israel's military assault. Likewise, 85% of the sewage pumping stations, 85% of small desalination plants, and 67% of the municipal wells have also been destroyed by the Zionist attacks. Authorities warned that despite the ceasefire, tensions remain high as violence could return. This would lead to a public health disaster for those trying to survive on 7% of water. Israeli forces continued their presence in 5 points of the Lebanese border in violation of the ceasefire agreement and after the deadline for its withdrawal from the south of Lebanon has expired. According to local media, the Lebanese armed forces are deploying little by little to counter the Israeli presence in territory, despite the fact that the advance is being hampered by explosives and damage to roads. On the other hand, several tanks and vehicles of the Israeli occupation were reportedly seen advancing early morning Tuesday towards the city of Far Shuba, carrying explosive material to prepare imminent bombardments in the area. The Lebanese army has begun to remove the mounds of earth at the northern entrance to Jarun to make way for residents, while in the town of Hula, the villagers are waiting for permission to enter. And South Korea's Constitutional Court decided on Tuesday to hold the 10th and final hearing in the impeachment trial of President Yoon Suk-yeol on Thursday the 20th. The criminal trial of the president, who is accused of rebellion for declaring martial law, will begin the same day. The Constitutional Court rejected a request by Yoon's defense to postpone the hearing so that the two trials do not coincide on the same day. If Yoon's impeachment is upheld, new early presidential elections will be called within 60 days of the court's ruling. In Germany, British actress Tilda Swinton denounced inhumane treatment and genocide in Gaza at the opening of the 75th Berlin International Film Festival. This year, the British actress was awarded the honorary Golden Bear in recognition of her career. During her acceptance speech, she lashed out at the actions of some world leaders who allow conflicts and sieges in various territories, such as Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people. The actress, known for her roles in Michael Clayton and Once Upon a Time There Was a Genius, also expressed her desire for an inclusive and racism-free film industry. The Berlin Film Festival 2025 will feature films from more than 30 countries, including European and non-European countries such as Argentina, Brazil, China, South Korea, Australia, Palestine, and Egypt. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.